With highly touted prospects Ben Brown and Colt Keith finally starting to break out, are Matt and I considering them must-add players? We have the answer to that and much more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane. You can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you haven't already, hit that little bell below. If you're watching on YouTube, it subscribes to the channel and gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. The link to our Subtext is in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, or available on all of our social media platforms. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone, just offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today and dive on into the ultimate fantasy baseball experience with Matt and I. We're doing a Locked On Fantasy Baseball hat giveaway. And if you're watching on YouTube, Matt and I are showing them off right now. Score big by simply sharing any of our posts from X or Instagram. Each share earns you an entry into the draw. The more you share, the greater your chances are of winning. Don't miss out. The drawing will be held on June 14th. Get in the game now. Whew. And Matt, I think we have some really awesome names. Talked about a couple of prospects at the top. Maybe we start with one of those guys?
Yeah, buddy. So guy that's pitching literally right now and had a good game is Ben Brown. Ben Brown, finally getting the start and lighting up Atlanta, I might add. Went 4 innings, which, obviously you'd want to see him more, but I think he'll progress to that. 6 Ks, no earned runs, and a .75 whip. This is fantastic. So the thing about Ben Brown is, it's funny. He's been holding his own in his little 1 inning, 2 inning little stints. He has a 3.57 ERA on the year with a FIP of 2.76. He has a little bit of a high whip at a 1.245. But again, you walk one or two guys in a single or 2 innings, and your whip is super inflated, especially with the limited work, right? But he still has 35 innings pitched and 39 Ks. So the dude definitely has the upside to just, go out there and kind of be a stud in terms of the Ks factor as well. You look at what he's done in the minors in 22 and 23, and the K work is fantastic. In 22, 104 innings pitched, 149 strikeouts. In 23, 92 innings pitched, 130 strikeouts. Yes, his ERA was a little inflated last year, but I tend to think that that's a little bit more on, what pitches he's trying to add to his repertoire versus actually going out there and, performing. He has 4 pitches. He doesn't really use his changeup and sweeper all that much, but he does have a pretty nice knuckle curve. His, 4-seam fastball has been a little flat at the moment, but I think that's going to start getting some movement, being that he's producing at such a high level. I think that if that starts making an improvement, he's going to go and take off to the moon. So Ben Brown right now, I feel, needs to be added at 5% owned, and currently just, I think, is being overlooked, especially after today's being able to go out and handle himself with 4 innings against the Atlanta Braves, one of the best hitting lineups in the league. Go out there, add yourself some Ben Brown.
Yeah, I'm a huge Ben Brown guy. This is someone that's got prospect pedigree. He was a top pitching prospect, as recent as at the beginning of the season, and comes up, had a couple of starts, didn't really fare so well. They put him in the bullpen. He started faring a little bit better out of the bullpen, but Matt mentioned the start against Atlanta today. The proof is in the pudding. The kid's starting to figure it out. Maybe while his time in the bullpen helped him figure out, okay, this is the approach that's going to work for me. And as I mentioned, it worked for 4 innings today with those 6 strikeouts. Didn't give up a run. Looked fantastic. Ben Brown at 5%. Let's get that up to at least 30-40% for Ben Brown.
Yeah,
I think people can find the spots. Yeah, in those deeper leagues, you could find the spot to, get you some Ben Brown. Definitely get you over that K per 9 prospect pedigree. Cubs, good team. There's really nothing, no reason to pass up on him unless your team is absolutely stacked at the moment. Let's move on to somebody who's a little bit more highly owned. We usually try to keep things under, 50% on these episodes, but this guy I felt needed to be talked about. It's Tristan McKenzie, right? Tristan McKenzie is 65% owned. And to me, this is a guy that needs to be universally owned. I know his last start on the 22nd against the Mets wasn't fantastic, but he was, really, really good for 4 starts before that. Tristan McKenzie's a guy, another guy, prospect pedigree, has had really successful seasons in the majors so far. As recent as a couple of years ago, we were considering him like a top 20 starting pitcher. So, I mean, I don't know really what's changed besides he was banged up the last year. It looks like he's getting on the right track again this year. I want to talk about the 2022 season, though, and I have the numbers here for McKenzie in 2022. It was a 2.96 ERA, 30 starts, 191 innings, 190 strikeouts, and an 0.95 whip. The control's been a little bit of the issue so far this year, McKenzie, with a league leading 31 walks through his 52 innings, but I like the 3.44 ERA. I know the FIP is a little bit high. He's under the K per 9. But this is a guy who I really think is on the track of figuring it out. When you recover from an injury, look at Chris Sale last year. Chris Sale was so up and down, finally figured it out down the stretch. And look at him this year, absolutely beasting out. I think McKenzie needs a little bit of time to figure it out. And as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to be a guy we can rely on. Honestly, it's kind of a pause the podcast moment. I know it's not a lot of leagues, but 65% owned for a guy for me, that should be 90% owned. If you're in one of those leagues where he's available, I really think you should pick this guy up.
I mean, if he's available, it's kind of a no-brainer. I had him ranked like a top 40 pitcher this year. So, Tristan McKenzie's a must-add if he's out there. It's kind of like a no-brainer. He's going to get better. And if he's on a team that he's not available, try to acquire him on the cheap right now. See if you can go and, sneak him out from under somebody. Because I promise you, by the end of the year, he's going to be about 90% owned. He's going to be one of the top pitchers in the leagues. And he's going to probably bring a bunch of people to, Locked On Fantasy Championship. So, go out and add Tristan McKenzie. Let's talk about another guy, a rebound guy. Finally, I think we might be seeing some positive turn for this dude, and that's Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah finally coming back after, gaining 600 pounds, looking like, looking
He looked like
Fat
he
Albert
ate
out
Alek
there.
Manoah. It looked like Alek Manoah ate Alek Manoah.
No, it looks like Fat Albert just went out there, took his uniform and started pitching. That's really just what it is. And Manoah came into this season losing about, I think, 15 or 25 pounds. And, I read that and I'm like, I'm intrigued. But then he got hurt and then he was in the minors and he struggled a little bit. First start wasn't hot, but his last 2 have been fantastic, I might add. Manoah has just been, honestly, one of the more interesting names that have just been out there floating. And these last 2 starts were great. Tampa Bay, I might add, went 7 innings, 7 Ks, got the win, no earned runs, a .29 whip, got the quality start. And again, against Minnesota, went 7 again, 6 Ks, no earned runs, a .71 whip, and got the QS. He's going out against Detroit today when you're listening. And if you have same day ads, add him immediately because it's going to be another one at Detroit. So a better pitching park than his own home park. So double bonus. Alek Manoah, I think, is going to be fantastic. I can't look too deep into his stats. It's only been 3 starts in about 7, 14, 18 innings. I can't really dive too deep into it other than the fact that everything is pretty much not looking as wonderful, but I will point out a couple things that I do like based off of it, right? He's not giving up hard hits. He's getting guys to quasi chase, which is right on the border of him being red. He's quasi on the cusp of it being red for whiff. The Ks are in red. The walks are coming down. And I think, quite honestly, we're going to start seeing the fastball run and the breaking ball speed run start going because I watched both of his last 2 starts and his pitches look fantastic. So I think Alek Manoah, I won't say he's 100% back, but I think there's a possibility we may get by the end of the season 75% of that prime Alek Manoah that we all hoped and prayed he would be.
Yeah, there's obvious upside here. Manoa had a strong 2021, had a strong 2022. I mean, I was somebody who was always fading Alek Manoa just because the underlying stats never really lined up with his actual performance. So that's the only reason I, faded him. But I still thought he was going to be valuable. I didn't think he was falling off a cliff like he did. But as Matt mentioned, those last two starts are definitely, enticing. At 51% owned, this guy, once again, the guy maybe should be universally owned, at least 80% owned, to see where the thing goes with him. He's somebody, though, that, if he goes out there and has a couple of bad starts and, there's a hot waiver wire pickup, I'm not holding like that. But I definitely want to see where it goes for Alek Manoa because there's obvious upside here. And before we move on, and we have a couple of great starting pitchers for you and then a bunch of great bats, we do have a quick ad. Spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much with Ibotta. Just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash. That means you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and make sure you use that code LOCKEDONMLB. And then, guys, get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access and discounts on every order. Join thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday today to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then, guys, we're once again introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season continues to unfold, you can rely on us for dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And once again, the link to our Subtext is available wherever you're listening, watching, or available on all of our social media platforms. Matt, as you know, brother, that is a lot for one human being. So I'm going to pass this off to you. And who do we got up next?
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to talk about Andrew Abbott now. Andrew Abbott is somebody that we touted going into the year, right? I had Abbott ranked, I think, in my top 60, 65 pitchers. I knew that he was going to be good. I just didn't expect it to be this good, but also, too, I also didn't expect some other sides of this, too, where he wasn't going to be a caper 9. But he's showing a lot of good things, right? On the season, he has a 2.68 ERA. He has 57 innings pitched. He has 3 wins, 43 Ks, and a 109 whip. Okay, these are great. Now, for some reason, he's lost the K per 9. I don't know, whatever it is. There's nothing that's really sticking out to me that says, hey, I don't understand why people aren't chasing, or he isn't getting the strikeouts like he did in the minors, because in the minors, it was well over about 50 pitches over the K per nine, over the innings pitched, essentially. The fastball is pretty much it. He's not giving up too much hard contact. He's just not getting people chase. He's not getting people to whiff. He's not getting the Ks. And funny enough, he's not giving up ground balls. The dude is what, 44% owned, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 44% not percent owned. And he's going up against the Dodgers this weekend. I'm going to start him. Yes, it's at home, but honestly, Andrew Abbott has just been successful both home and away. Has been really doing the run suppressing, and I think he'll be able to handle himself pretty well. On top of that, we're looking at it. We're talking about Saturday. So no, Sunday. And if you're down in the weeds and you need a little extra stats, Andrew Abbott could get you the QS. Andrew Abbott could get you at least 3 to 4 Ks. Andrew Abbott could bring down your ERA and whip and possibly get you the win if everybody on that team just decides to hit. So Andrew Abbott has a lot of upside right now, and I swear you need to add him.
So, Matt, I'm right there with you. Andrew Abbott was actually a guy stashed in a lot of leagues last year. I was very high on him as, he was getting the call, and I held on to him for quite a while. He had his ups and downs last year, but Andrew Abbott ultimately contributed to fantasy baseball teams. So, Matt, I actually got you covered a little bit on what was going on in the minors with him. So what was going on in the minors with Abbott is he played in a lot of pitcher-friendly leagues where they were, messing with the ball and stuff like that to, try and, they test stuff out in the minors, to later implement rules that worked in the minors into the MLB, as we saw the bigger bags and the pitch clock and all that stuff is stuff that got implemented into, the bigs. So with Abbott, a lot of pitcher-friendly parks, a lot of, pitcher-friendly leagues. That's why he was dominating the way that he was. So, we did see him come to the bigs last year and still have that K per nine. But you know what? If you look at Abbott's pitch mix from last year to this year, he did change it up a lot. That curveball last year for Abbott, was his second most used pitch, and it really didn't work for him. It was getting hit at a 367 clip. Has way lowered the curveball usage. Has lowered it actually by 4%. He moved that changeup, up 1%. He, moved his sweeper down a little bit. He really worked on his pitch mix is what I'm getting at. And honestly, he's not really getting rocked the way he was last year. So I love to see that he's suppressing runs a bit more. The K per nine ultimately might not ever be great, but he's a guy who I think will definitely be useful. And at 44% owned, if you missed out on, if your McKenzie's not available in your league, or, I think him and Alek Manoah and Abbott probably close for me. And Ben Brown does have upside, but I do ultimately like Andrew Abbott, and he's definitely worth a pickup for sure. Let's move on to this last starting pitcher, and then we really got to get things cooking over here. Let's talk about Tyler Anderson real quick. And Tyler Anderson isn't a favorite of mine, but Tyler Anderson is a pitcher who's been good in the past. And he's kind of, if you missed out on everybody else we talked about, 38% owned here for Anderson. And he's an innings eater, honestly. He's done it before. He's doing it again. He's not going to get you that K per nine. But I think he could be decent the rest of the way. Once again, not my favorite pickup here, but Tyler Anderson is somebody that's been good in the past. And I think we can rely on him at least a little bit for now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. He's pitching great and suppressing runs. All the underlying stats say he might get blown up soon, but maybe not. Probably not this week. So, yeah, but probably not this week. So, quite honestly, if you're down and quite a bit, might want to consider adding Tyler Anderson to kind of balance out your ERA and WHIP. But
he was an all-star in 2022.
Right, but that was when all his stuff was. Let me switch back. That was when all his stuff was going. He had great fastball movement, great off-speed movement, all this wonderful stuff that is polar opposite of this year. So, I guess he's a one-hit wonder. Let's talk about Colt Keith. Colt Keith right now is, has had a slow start. We expected him to come out there and be this big bruising, hitter where he was going to just hit power for days. But funny enough, he still hasn't hit a home run this season, but I think it's coming. And what tells me that is he hasn't, and he's known for hitting home runs. Not really more of like his underlying stats. We'll get into that. But the dude had 27 home runs last year and 507 at bats. There's no reason he can't repeat that. He does have a high power grade. He is an average hitter, and that he's showing a little bit of late in the last month, where he is batting about 302 the last 2 weeks, 455. Batting average off the waiver wire, my number one rule. Ultimately, he is a must add in those regards. Plus, second and third eligibility is another key thing. Now, we start looking at his at his bat in total, and you just say, okay, he hasn't been getting a lot of hard hitting. He hasn't been barreling as well as you thought. His bat speed hasn't been great, even the average exit velocity, but it's only about, I would say, 1 mile per hour lower than Luis Robert. So if you can get that average exit velocity up a whole mile per hour, the home run should start kicking. That should be soon. He's not striking out and he's not whiffing all that much. So I'm going to say there's better times to come. Colt Keith is already trending in the right direction by getting the hits and stringing them together. Colt Keith is a must add. And before I hand it over to Dom and we finish this out, we do have a few sponsors we need to talk about, and we'll be right back after this. And get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 and bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and a whole bunch more. Just visit fanduel.com/locked on and shoot your shot. And by shooting your shot, you might want to bet on who's going to win the finals, who's gonna win the World Series, who's going to steal a base, which team is going to do what in the next game. Root against your rivals. Do something to make the game that much more interesting, and do it on FanDuel, the FanDuel official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, Dom, I'll cue you back in, man. Let's talk about it.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, Matt, you hit the nail on the head with Colt Keith. It's right around the corner. It's coming. He's 13% owned. He's eligible at second and third on Yahoo. Get ahead of the curve. Pick him up now. Hitting 571 over the last 7 days, 12 for 21. The homers are going to come in bunches. I guarantee you he's going to do a Christopher Morel of last year when Christopher Morel went on a stretch where he hit like 7 home runs in like 10 games. I don't know if it will be that extreme, but I wouldn't be shocked if Colt Keith hits like, 3-4 home runs in like a 7-game stretch and really just gets it going and has those numbers looking a lot better. He was a highly touted prospect, has the pedigree, has dominated the minors at every single step. Last year, Colt Keith across Double A and Triple A, 126 games, 507 at bats, 88 runs, 38 doubles, 27 homers, 101 RBIs, 60 walks to 121 strikeouts, 306 batting average. Proof is in the pudding. And even this year, he's still 12 walks to 25 strikeouts, 5 doubles. I'm telling you, it's right around the corner. Pick up Colt Keith now. Once again, 13% owned on Yahoo. Let's keep things moving. Let's get on to our next guy. We've talked about him a little bit this year. Let's talk about him again. It's Mr. Byron Buxton himself. I can't guarantee that he won't be hurt as the time that you're listening to this, but while he's out there, Byron Buxton, I always say this, he has the potential to go on a stretch for like 2 weeks where he carries your baseball team. He wins you 2 weeks in a row, and then he gets hurt, and unfortunately it's over. But, Byron Buxton's heating up on the 21st. He went 2 for 5 with 2 homers, is on a 4-game hitting streak since he's got back. Really like what I've seen from him. We all know who he is. He can hit homers in bunches. The batting average might not ever be great. Probably not going to steal so much bases anymore as he's getting a little bit older. The injuries have added up over the years. But like I said, this guy is just so much, I can't even say potential anymore, but there's a lot of upside here. Byron Buxton, 38% owned on Yahoo.
Yeah, don't leave out his production on the waivers for somebody else to pick up and use against you.
Exactly.
He's just going to do it until he just decides to, go join Alberto Montesi at the retirement home for disappearing knees. He just is who he is. He's definitely a must add. I added him yesterday, so do it now before anything else. Let's move on. Let's talk about Elias Diaz. Let's start talking some catcher action here. He's producing. Let's put it this way. Batting average off the waiver wire, especially out of your catcher position, is key. He has a home run, a run, 2 ribs, batting .667 over the last week with an OPS of 1.778. Fantastic numbers there. Even over the last 2 weeks, 3 runs, a bomb, 5 ribs, batting .387 and 968 OPS. The kid is just having a good month in general. I think he needs to be added. There's nothing that's going to tell you, oh, hey, he's going to be great for the rest of the season. No. But as a streamer at 37% owned, you can stream this position to a T in single catcher leagues. And Elias Diaz needs to be added, especially with him producing right now, at least somewhat minimal.
Yeah, Elias Diaz is a guy who over like the last like 2 or 3 years has just produces every once in a while. He goes on these stretches where he gets hot, hits for a little bit of batting average and a little bit of pop here and there, a little bit of batting average, and that's about it. Then he goes away. So if you're in a 2 catcher league and he's available, I'd add him. If you're in like a 15er, an NL only like that, and you need a catcher that's producing right now, you can add Elias Diaz, 322 batting average, 4 homers. Getting it done right now, but not somebody I'm counting on. Let's talk about Jose Caballero, somebody who's a little bit more interesting, somebody who has a little bit of prospect pedigree, and it's kind of been like a darling. I've been seeing him getting picked up a lot. I've been seeing him getting talked about a lot. He's 56% owned on Yahoo. On May 22nd, his last game, 2 for 4, steal, 2 RBIs. Went 2 for 3 on the 18th. Starting to heat back up. Guy that could definitely steal some bases and hit for a little bit of batting average. The thing I heard a great comp for Caballero, and I have to give credit where it's due. I believe it was Scott White on CBS. I was listening, and he was talking about Caballero's doing what we thought Nico Horner would do, and I thought that was such a great comparison for Caballero. And honestly, he could be that Nico Horner type of player. So if he's out there in your league and you need a little bit of steals, need a little bit of batting average, Jose Caballero is definitely somebody that I would look to with second and short eligibility as well on Yahoo.
Yeah. I picked up Caballero because I had no shortstop in a league, and he's producing. He's pretty much carrying my team in stolen bases. So Caballero definitely needs to be added just for that alone. And he's also not half bad at batting average either. So he's not like he's like dead in the water. He's just there for stolen bases. Let him cook in your shortstop and second base position, and don't worry about it. Let me go with this next guy. It's gonna be fun pronouncing his name. It's Wensil Perez.
That was perfect. Wenzel, not Wensil, close.
So the funniest
That
part is
was really good.
you look at his phonetic spelling on Baseball Reference. It goes win, like win, and then it's CEHL. How the hell are you going to say that? So, unless I'm watching the game where I hear the announcer say it.
I feel like I've heard his name said before. Once again, I could be wrong here. I'm not sure.
I mean, we're probably both wrong, and it's probably like Wonderstruck Perez. I don't know, who knows, right?
But he's been good, so you guys got to get him on your fantasy teams. That's the point here.
Exactly, right? So like the dude is 13% owned, and he's actually producing pretty well. Second in outfield eligibility, Detroit, 5 runs, no bombs, 5 ribs, stolen base, batting .333. On the season, he has 17 runs, 3 bombs, 13 ribs, 4 stolen bases, batting .297. Honestly, look, batting average off the waiver wire, again, he definitely falls in that category. He's stealing a base. He's producing runs and ribs, which you definitely need. You can fill him in on days like, honestly, like Wednesday or Thursday, actually today, where you essentially have a bunch of off days. And if he's playing, he's a nice little slide-in guy. So I would definitely add him, see what we could do. He's not going to be a long-term solution, but if somebody goes down or you're having a giant off day, he could fill in and probably produce.
Yeah, Mr. Perez over here has had, pretty last beside not including this year, in 2023 and 2022, Wenzel Perez had very good seasons in the minors, hit for a bit of batting average in both those years, stole a couple bags, hit a couple home runs. Honestly, the underlying stuff is interesting because he's like really good at some stuff and he's not good at other stuff. The plate discipline looks pretty good. Barrels up the ball pretty well. They believe in the batting average. He's pretty quick as well. So, this is a guy that he's been hitting third too. Once again, Wenzel Perez here, second in outfield eligibility on Yahoo is who we are talking about. And, if you're in a league where you need second base, that's been, kind of tough, your 5 outfielder leagues. I definitely think this is a guy that I don't know if he keeps it up at this rate, but can he give you a positive batting average with some steals and RBIs and runs hitting third in that Detroit lineup? Yeah, it's definitely possible. There's times where we see guys come out of nowhere and be productive. And I wouldn't even say it's out of nowhere because, he's been pretty good in the minors the last couple of years. So Wenzel Perez is definitely somebody in deeper leagues I'm going to go out there and take a shot on. Matt, but before we wrap up here, anything else to add?
I will say this. Look, this is the time to stay in the game if you're down. There's still plenty of time to turn this around. And if you keep listening to our waiver wire shows where, we say they're must adds because we can fill the holes until guys get healthy. So stick around, stay on top of the waivers, follow us, and I promise we'll get you to the promised land. Guys are going to start giving up. Don't be one of those people and fall behind and say, my season's over. We're in the end of May. There's still June, July, and August before you have to even worry about the playoffs. There's 3 months to recover. We got you. Stick around. But Dom, unless you got anything, I'll get us out of here.
Go for it.
All right. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, share our post. Try and win this hat. I promise you won't regret it. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day and an awesome weekend. Enjoy the holiday, and we'll be back on Tuesday. There will not be an episode on Monday. All right. Peace.
See ya.